I declare the 10th emergency special session of the General Assembly resumed and call to order its 57th plenary meeting. Members will recall that in paragraph 19 of its resolution ES 10/24 of 18 September 2024, the Assembly decided to adjourn the 10th emergency special session temporarily and to authorize the President of the General Assembly at its most recent session to resume its meeting upon request from member states. In this regard, I should like to draw the attention of delegations to document A/ES 10/1016, which contains a letter dated 21st November 2024 from the representatives of Lebanon, Cameroon, and Uganda in their respective capacities as chairs of the Arab Group, chair of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Group, and chair of the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, requesting the resumption of the 10th emergency special session of the General Assembly. I intend to conduct the proceedings of this meeting in accordance with the rules of procedure of the General Assembly and the past practices of its emergency special sessions. Members will also recall that at its 53rd plenary meeting of the 10th emergency special session on 17 September 2024, the General Assembly took note of the information contained in document A/ES 10/959 concerning member states that are in arrears in the payment of their financial contributions to the United Nations within the terms of Article 19 of the Charter. In this connection, may I take it that it is the wish of the General Assembly to follow the provisions of Resolution 79/3 of 9th October 2024, by which Sao Tome and Principe and Somalia are permitted to vote in the General Assembly until the end of its 79th session, and to also allow these member states to vote at the 10th emergency special session. It is so decided. The General Assembly will now resume its consideration of Agenda Item 5 entitled Illegal Israeli Actions in Occupied East Jerusalem and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, for over a year, the people of Gaza and Israel have endured a relentless cycle of death, destruction, and displacement. More than 43,000 Palestinians have been killed and more than 100,000 injured, most of them civilians, women, and children. About 100 hostages still remain in captivity. The horror in Gaza must end. Excellencies, the demands of the international community are clear. They are also evident in the draft resolution considered by the Security Council on 20th November, which received 14 votes in favor, but was ultimately blocked by a veto from a permanent member. Once again, the Security Council is paralyzed unable to fulfill its primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. Once again, the General Assembly is called upon to take the lead on the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory. Excellencies, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict cannot be resolved through endless war and occupation. The conflict will only end when Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in their own sovereign, independent states in peace, security, and dignity. It is time for the international community to take concrete, meaningful action. We must strive for a just, comprehensive, and lasting resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, one grounded in international law, the United Nations Charter, and relevant UN resolutions. Excellencies, international law, the Charter of United Nations, and United Nations resolutions must be respected by all member states. This is especially true for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East, an agency that was established and mandated by this General Assembly. The agency is providing protection, shelter, food, and water, and medical care to millions of suffering Palestinians, in particular under most difficult circumstances in Gaza. Despite the humanitarian need, the agency's future in the occupied Palestinian territory is in peril. Therefore, I must voice once again my deep alarm at the recent decision taken by the Israeli parliament to adopt two laws which, if implemented, would prevent the agency from undertaking its essential work in Gaza and in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem. A collapse of operations of UNRWA in the occupied Palestinian territory as a result of these two laws would exacerbate an already catastrophic humanitarian situation. The cessation of the agency's activities in the occupied Palestinian territory would mean that Palestinian refugees will not get desperately needed and life-saving assistance anymore. This is unacceptable. I urgently call on the government of Israel to comply with its international legal obligations and allow the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees to continue its vital work as mandated by this General Assembly in Gaza and the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem. As representatives of the international community, it is our shared duty to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter, justice, respect for international law, and faith in the dignity and worth of every human being. These principles are the foundations for peace and are what will guarantee lasting security for both the people of Palestine and Israel. Thank you.